Hey, it's Andrew Larson, Director of Business Development with OneAccord, and I am joined today by our COO, Ryan Shope. And Ryan's going to give you a little bit of his insight, newer to the team, but extensive background in management consulting. So we're going to dive right in. And Ryan, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Ryan, you have a pretty extensive background in management consulting, investment banking. You've done some government contract work. I'd like to hear what's different about this role with OneAccord versus your previous roles in consulting.
Well, there are a lot of similarities, but the things that are different are really important. I think OneAccord has been something that's been on my radar for years now, a lot longer since I've been employed here. I've known Jeff and a bunch of other key members of the team in the business community here in the PNW for a long time. I think what stands out to me is that, our approach isn't a pure consulting approach or it isn't a pure investment banking approach. We really try to give that personalized experience to the business owner from the lens of being business owners ourselves. That to me makes all of our engagements seem much more organic, and we're able to develop a real relationship with the owners to help them get what they want.
Speaking of how we work with owners, would you articulate a little bit more of our process? I know this is normally my job as the Director of Business Development, but you sit in these meetings with me. So from your perspective, as we're engaging with business owners, what's different about our process that seems to resonate the most?
I think the differentiator that I really like is we are, in my opinion, pure in our investigative process when creating a client success plan at the front of every engagement. One of the things I really like is instead of just jumping into an ongoing contract with presuppositions of what we think is the right prescription for this business, we do an initial step of just, hey, let's look under the hood at everything. Let's look at the financials. Let's interview some people. Let's talk to some customers of yours and get a sentiment of how your company's viewed in the market, and let the data and the information we gather help craft a solution that's actually right for the company rather than what we're assuming based on prior work or experience.
I had the opportunity to interview your wife, and I'm going to ask you a question that I also asked her.
Okay.
In the investigative process, because I have the easy job, right? I just find the people and then I hand them over to you and you have to do all the work with them. But one of the things that I know we've faced, I've sat in meetings with you where this question's been asked is, hey, I work here 24/7. This is I live and breathe this. How are you going to find anything that I'm not aware of, right? Or what is the value of me bringing you in to assess my business? And would you share with everybody how we go about answering that question and what the actual value is of letting somebody look at the blind spots?
Sure. And I think this is a common question a lot of business owners or just key stakeholders in companies have with maybe typical management consultants. It's like, how can you expect someone to come in that doesn't have all the domain expertise or the time to really know what's going on? The answer I would say for that is twofold. One, we do have a lot of experiences maybe outside of the company as business owners ourselves, and just having a bunch of members of our team that have experienced probably every good and bad scenario that can happen with a company. There's a good chance we've been there. The other thing is, by bringing in an outsider who isn't coming in with a set agenda, it allows for your team and your employees or even your customers to be more open and vulnerable with feedback that they might not be comfortable sharing with you.
Talk a little more about the client success plan, the first stage of almost every engagement for us. What does that do for the owner, and how does it set the stage for the rest of the engagement?
Sure. The client success plan is a physical asset that is exactly what it sounds like. What we do is this discovery diagnostic process where it's kind of a, 3-stage piece, where the first stage is typical to any sort of due diligence exercise that might happen with either investment banks or other consulting groups, where it's like, hey, let's look at all of the financials or other documents, list of customers, every piece of data that you can give us. We'd love to just look at it, analyze it. And what that does is that helps us prepare our questions for interviews. So the second phase of this is we conduct a series of interviews with an on-site with typically the core leadership team or some other key employees. And then we send out a survey that's been tailored for the specific engagement to every employee of the company. And what that does is we have the initial piece of information that we have from the due diligence, and then we're going in and being more focused with our interview and our survey questions. And then the third piece of it is now that we have all of that holistic data, we will scrub the market to understand the sentiment, understand maybe the competitive landscape. And those three pieces help us put together essentially a prescription. And so the way client success plans are laid out is we really want to understand what the owner wants to have with their life. This business might be one vehicle for it. They may have plans for what they want to do with other businesses with their lives. They may want to reduce owner dependency or sell it. I don't know. But we're trying to create the tactical steps to get them to their ultimate goal. So in the beginning, you'll look at essentially what's the high level objective. Then we say, okay, from that, there may be some big rocks or key milestones that need to be hit to get there. But then we go a step further and we say, okay, each of those big rocks, what's the checklist to do it? And the hope with that and all the supporting data we have for it is the customer can either take it and say, great, thank you, this is awesome, I'm going to go do it myself. And if they check all those boxes, they can get where they want to go. Or if they want to partner with us and have us help execute or put an operator in role, we can come in as a partner with them on a long-term basis to actually execute and get them towards their overall goal.
So unlike a standard consultancy where we're delivering kind of an opinion for a fee and then leaving them alone, talk about the second stage of how we can partner with owners to help actually fulfill their goals.
Well, I mean, the second stage is our bread and butter. That's what we really are about. We are here to help serve as the operational arm to execute the plans that they want. So that may be having fractional or interim leadership come in and help facilitate a transition. If maybe an owner wants to step out and reduce their dependency or transition it internally to one of their key employees. We have an investment bank, and we can help facilitate a sale of the company or a purchase of maybe other smaller pieces of the supply chain that are necessary for the holding company. We even have executive placement services. If it makes more sense for us to just go and find a full-time hire rather than having an interim person from OneAccord's bench, we can help find that right person for them. The thing I really love about this process is because we take time up front to figure out what really the business owner wants and what are the actual things to get there without a biased objective, we're able to give a solution to them that I don't think any other shop really can. And that's looking holistically across the landscape of their company and figuring out what needs to be done now, but also what happens afterwards. And what do we need to do to make sure that the afterwards is great for the customer.
All right, so you've been in your role with OneAccord for about 9 months now, and I'm curious, what's been your favorite success story?
I think so far, one of the success stories that I have liberty to share is a company called Restore Effects, which was actually my first engagement with OneAccord. For context, Restore Effects is a essentially chemical manufacturer that creates clear coat for cars that allows for applying new clear coat over top scuff marks of cars without having to have a lot of the heavy process that can take a lot of time or be expensive with the traditional methods.
So it's like a
in the industry.
buff-on application.
Buff-on application. It's an amazing product that the business owners came up with, over a decade ago. And they came to us because they were struggling to figure out how to monetize it. And they also wanted to figure out how to reduce owner dependency and get some, fruits from their investment of their time. And it was exactly the process that we talked about earlier. We created a client success plan for them that added some major changes to their business model and really got back to the core fundamentals of what we needed to do to distribute the product well. And then we presented that to them, and they were on board. They were like, we really like this idea. And we found this guy named Mark Lundy, who I think is the perfect person to have stepped in as the CEO for that company. He has a lot of experience in a relevant industry with a similar distribution model. He matches the culture of the company really well. And he had a heart to really step in and roll his sleeves up and get something done. And we put him in November of last year. And in this short period of time, the results have been very tangible. We've seen about a 15% increase in trailing 12-month revenues in historically the slowest season for them. In terms of the KPIs or metrics that they set for the year based on their historical trends, we're already about 70% of the way through those and having to reevaluate and go faster than what the business owners thought. But I think the main thing for me that's been what I consider this the greatest success story is I've talked with the owners, Alex, Nadia, Nick, and Tony, and they've all shared with me, they have faith in what OneAccord is doing and stewarding their company. And they really think that it's allowing for them to take it to the horizon that they've known their company's potential is at, but they haven't been able to manifest it themselves. That to me is just why I'm here. Like, I love the idea of helping business owners through the redemptive process of realizing the vision that they've known their company has.
Talk a little bit more about that. How it's an intimate process working with business owners. We only work with privately held businesses. And a lot of times there's complex family dynamics. What are some of the things that you find yourself doing in partnership with these owners that maybe you didn't fully expect?
Well, I mean, any operator of a company needs to be able to know the hard science of business management. But I think what I didn't fully expect, but has been an honor to experience, is a lot of the emotion and personality, I would say, conversations I have to have with business owners, especially family-owned businesses. These are very professional people. A lot of these companies are extremely well run, have been staples in the community for a long time. But like anything that people pour their lives into, there's a lot of emotion at stake. And so I think, part of this as being sort of this missing business partner for these clients is we now are stepping in as a relatively objective and new party to help navigate through potential frictions that these families or these stakeholders have had for long periods of time. And so for me, it's been a great learning exercise. It's been a great lesson in humility, patience, but also empathy. And I think what makes it worth it is getting through some of those frictions or helping other people get through them and seeing the release and productivity that comes on the other side, and also just the stress relief from the other side. That's very satisfying. It's a very personal thing to be able to do for somebody.
There's mixed emotions in the business owner community around consulting and what exactly that means. What do you run into as far as walls or guards that you need to get past when beginning to work with an owner group?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Andrew. I think, the three ways that we help navigate through that resistance to consultants are, respect, empathy, and then just our experience. I think the first thing is everyone at OneAccord that is delivering on the work has or currently is a business owner or operator themselves. And so there is a level of mutual respect of, comrades who have stepped into the entrepreneurial arena themselves that I think a lot of consultants just don't have because they've never had to be in that position. I think that also goes into just empathy. We know the emotional stresses and also the highs that come from owning and operating a business and what it means to ride the roller coaster of making payroll, ensuring quality deliverables and things are hit on time, and taking care of families and providing jobs for people that are building up the economy around you. It's an amazing level of responsibility that it should be cherished, but also can be daunting. And I think the last thing is, because we have such a deep bench of operators and business owners themselves, there's a really good chance that through our network, we have seen some of the problems that companies are facing before, and not from a point of arrogance, but we've probably made those same mistakes ourselves. And this is why we have recommendations to move beyond it.
Let's talk about clarity a little bit, because we've been in the middle of a clarity campaign at OneAccord, understanding that there were a lot of different opinions about what we did, because we've been around for so long and we've gone through a number of iterations. Just getting real clear, and again, this is normally my job, so I get to put you on the spot. Give a summary of kind of the two main services that OneAccord provides and how they complement each other and how they work in the ecosystem with our network partners.
Sure. So OneAccord has two independent businesses under the same banner. There is OneAccord Partners that functions as the operating partner for business owners to help enhance their enterprise value. And so that is very much the classic piece of, we can provide the strategic partnership piece or consulting. We can provide the interim or fractional operators or the executive placement services. We can do everything that you can think of as an operating partner with you through OneAccord Partners. The second core service we have is OneAccord Capital Advisors, which functions as an independent investment bank. And so OneAccord Capital Advisors can help facilitate sell-side mergers and acquisitions deals, also buy-side deals, and can also help with internal transfers, whether that is selling, a company from generation 1 to generation 2 with a line of credit on the business or anything like that. And so really what it comes down to is we have two independent arms, one that can help build with you, and then one that can help facilitate the transition if it's needed.
So one of the things that we do with our clients is optimize their partner ecosystem. And we have, thankfully, a broad network of strategic partners that we can bring in legal, finance, wealth management, tax and compliance. Just so everybody knows, you orchestrate a lot of that.
Yeah.
So you get to do a lot of the introductions, a lot of the personality matching, and making sure that the relationships are a fit for the owner. But would you just talk about the importance of having those pieces in place for not just for our partners, but for the business owners out there who maybe haven't worked with a mentor before, haven't worked with a leadership coach or a wealth manager?
Yeah, so when I think of what OneAccord's role is in one word, we're the catalyst. We catalyze the change to get the business owners where they want to go. And we can do that by being the operators or the direct service ourselves. But in cases where that's not what's actually needed, we do have strategic partners that we can bring in that can help provide services we don't do. Mm-hmm. Whether it is, the tax advice or the legal advice or the wealth managers or any list of other professional services that are there to support business owners that they may not have actually interacted with. We try to help facilitate those introductions when it's the right time to move the ball forward and to catalyze the change that the business owners want. This also works vice versa. A lot of those professional service providers that I mentioned also refer OneAccord when they need to have a catalyst with their clients to help take action in the business to get them where they want to go. And so that's what I think is the beautiful relationship between OneAccord and all of our strategic partners is, we may be sometimes the doers or operators in role, whether it's running or transitioning a company, but we work in a larger ecosystem to ensure that we can provide as much value to the clients as possible.
Mm-hmm. Hey, as much as I would love for this to be a puff piece on OneAccord, let's talk about the reality of business. Put me in the seat of a business owner. I want to know that I'm going to get ROI, and I also want to know that I'm not just spending a bunch of money to have you blow smoke. What do you have to say to that?
That's a fantastic question. I think it goes to the core of a lot of people's reservations with consulting. What we strive to do to ensure that the business owners are getting their return on their investment and clear communication is with every engagement we have an independent client account manager that is not the person operating in role, that is there to ensure that our expectations that we've discussed in the statements of work are met. And so they meet with the business owners on a regular basis without any of the other delivery team to make sure that they have a clear communication channel to make sure that we are delivering what we say we deliver. We also provide regular pulse checks quantifying and showing, are we actually generating value beyond what we're charging? And if we're not, we'll have an honest conversation if we need to reevaluate scope. The other thing is, with that stance of being a missing business partner, which is the reason why I came to OneAccord, is we're not afraid of having uncomfortable and honest conversations, even if that's to the detriment of us gaining potential work. There have been examples of conversations I've had with people where they don't have a viable solution, or the best recommendation might be to sunset the business or not engage with OneAccord, or do something that maybe they weren't intending to, but it's our honest opinion that that's the best decision to move forward. And we will share that, even if that means that we're not going to be able to receive a check at the end of the month from it. And so to me, that is why I do business. I'm here to help business owners increase the value for them and the people that they employ and their clients and customers in the community. And that's what OneAccord's about too. We're building value built on values.
Ryan, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking some of the pressure off me. You get to do my job for a day and talk about what OneAccord does. And it's good to see things through the lens of the operator that's actually engaged with the business owners. So.
Happy to do it. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to email Andrew or me.